Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm John Ochins.
And we're going to talk about everything that's going on in the township and the village and ordinances and regulations that are being made which affect you.
Well, not everything.
Well, it wouldn't affect you
Pretty
because
close.
you don't really live in the area, right?
Yeah, I'm a wetback.
Close enough. Let me check. First meeting we're going to talk about is the Pollyant Trail. And the chair for that particular commission is Ed Brakefield.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a pretty good job, actually.
Ed's a good guy.
Yep. You know Ed?
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Don't know Jack, but you know Ed.
correct.
Okay, got it. I want to say, folks, that this is John Ocean, and he's filling in for us instead of Dave Kenny, who is out with illness.
That's right, I'm just a Tampa.
You'll see John all over the place. He does all kinds of things for Oxford Community Television.
Yeah, excuse me, I've got to empty the wastebasket.
You can't get back here because you have a job to do today. Not unlike other jobs.
I know.
Things you do.
I need to behave.
You do. Okay. So anyway, they had under the new business. They said that they need to have a complete quorum. That people need to show up, which is a good idea.
Why?
Well, because there's a lot to do.
Oh,
You know.
oh, okay.
And if they don't do it, they have to put it off till next time.
If you say so.
You agree with that?
Yeah, oh, sure,
Oh, okay. Why do you agree?
because you said so.
I have him convinced already. Might want to keep him on instead of Dave. I don't know. So anyway, so they first of all talked about the bills that they had to pay, and they approved them and went on to the next step. They talked about the next meeting that they were going to have, and they wanted to move the meetings to Thursdays instead of Wednesday. And the reason for that is because some of the commissioners couldn't make it, on Wednesday. And they usually have their routine meeting at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But they felt that they could move it, to Thursday and not interrupt, the process, making decisions, for Pollyant Trail. Good idea, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but you know what I think? There's too much snow on the Pollyant Trail.
Well, that's used for skiing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're wondering now where the tow ropes
I'm
are.
just too anxious for spring. Go ahead.
Well, I'd hold off on that one if I was you. Okay. Mike McDonald. You know who Mike is?
I do not.
Would you like to know?
He was lead singer for the Doobie Brothers, but
No. This guy is from Leonard, which is part of Addison Township.
okay.
And he's on this board, and he's served on all kinds of different boards in the past. I think he's president of Leonard right now, or something along that line. So anyway, so he's on this board, and he's one of the people that had a conflict, in terms of scheduling, so that's why they want to change it. He's a very good asset, to this committee or commission. Joe Young said, and he's village manager, he said maybe you might have to change the bylaws on that, and then some people said, well, you shouldn't have to do that, just change the date, to get the job done. So
Seems complicated.
it does.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can do what they call sophisticated. And by the way, you know the definition of sophistication?
No.
Unnecessarily complicated. So occasionally in politics it gets that way. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in this case, they're going to keep it simple, and I believe that they're going to go to Thursdays. Everybody agreed that that was a good thing to do. Then they talked about budgets. Everybody's in that budget period, of their commissions and councils and so forth. They have roughly a $30,000 budget per year is what they deal with. Ramey, R-A-M-I-E, I believe it is their auditor. And he takes care of the taxes and the reports, for the financial end of it.
Right.
So the treasurer really hasn't gotten that deeply involved with those processes at this point, because the treasurer is fairly new, to the Pollyant Trail, and was only elected, I believe, last year. And he said that they asked him, they said, well, do you have directions or instructions and so forth to do the financials on this? He said, what directions? What financials? He said, when the last guy left, he closed the door and didn't even say goodbye. So he said he had to pick up the ends.
So from a budgetary standpoint, how are they doing, or don't they know?
Well, no, they know, and the reason why they know is they hired a guy. And the guy they hired, kind of a part-time basis, is Joe Ferrari. Have you heard of Joe?
Wow,
He's
I
with
heard he has a
Township.
nice car.
No. Well, Joe doesn't drive one, but not that he couldn't, but he's with the township, and he's township treasurer. And I think Bill Dunn made a loan of Mr. Ferrari. But I think not just a loan, though. It's not free. I think there is a charge. Mr. Ferrari, I think, charges a whole whopping $1,000 a year or something along that line, you know, to do the services. But there's all kinds of forms that need to be filled out. There's 1099s, for example, for employees. And there's a number of employees that need 1099s. So he handles that part of it. The audit part of it is handled by Ramey, but he will work in conjunction with Mr. Ferrari now on these processes. And guess who wants to remain in the loop as they go along?
I don't know. Please
The
tell
treasurer,
us.
the new treasurer that wants to pick up on what's going on, which is a pretty good thing for him. Needs to know that. Let me see. Last year, I think it wasn't Joe Ferrari that filed a 990, but I think there was one filed by the other treasurer. But anyway, those are things that they talked about, various forms that they needed to make the government happy with. Pat Ball, of course, is the, what do they call it, a trail manager?
Yes.
And you know him?
No, I don't know Pat, sorry.
I'm not going to have fun with you today.
I'm, you know, that's what you get for being a wetback, but go ahead,
Anyway, got to come in out of the rain. That's your problem.
I guess.
So anyway, he has performed an inventory. And Mr. Ball is fairly new too. He was just hired recently, maybe in the last few months, as the director. And he said the first thing he saw when he came in is, "Hey, what's all this equipment all over?" He said, "It's all over the place in the sheds and whatever." So he took it upon himself to do a complete inventory, which they would have had to do anyway, according to Mr. Ferrari down the line. So that shows pretty good initiative. And not only that, but he's out cutting trees and all that stuff. And right now, I don't know if he's shoveling snow, but I think somebody is.
I hope somebody is.
Right. So anyway, the next thing that they went into is, hey, Pollyant Trail, we're supposed to have a sign put on the Pollyant Trail Bridge to identify it.
Mhm.
Well, Mr. Ball says, well, during the inventory portion of it, he said, I saw this sign that said Pollyant Trail. They said, well, how many signs are there? He says, well, I think there's two. I saw one, but there could be two. One for each side, of course. And, well, what do these signs look like? Well, they're about 8 or 10 feet long, and, you know, what are they made out of? Made out of wood. Oh. Joe Young says, I don't know if you can do that, you know, because that's a state highway, and MDOT needs approval before you can put any sign up.
They have to approve the sign.
They have to approve the sign. You know what? We'll talk about that when we come back.
Well, I hope so.
Okay, after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
John Ochins.
Yes, and he's our assistant MC, I guess you call it, or
I am
what is
that, yes.
You any other names you'd like to be called?
I'm the assistant expert.
I didn't say that.
Let's keep it clean.
Okay, but here's the deal. We're just talking about the Pollyant Trail, and we're talking about the bridge that Pollyant Trail built over M24.
M24, yes.
And everybody that goes by there can see it. But, you know, lower your head to watch traffic. There's a lot of traffic there, too. But anyway, they found these signs, and they wanted a description of them and so forth, and the commissioners did. And
Got to have state approval.
yeah, so
what
finally
you
they
said.
said, hey, bring them in. Let's take a look at them. But Joe Young said, you got to have state approval on this from MDOT.
Right.
They said, well, isn't there an ordinance from Oxford that covers signs? And Joe says, well, not on the bridge. It does cover banners, that a banner is allowed to be I think it's 2 feet high by 30 feet long as a banner. But those banners can only be used by Oxford or special events that are approved, through the administration. It has nothing to do with signs. Sign is a completely different subject.
Have they ever heard of the phrase begging for forgiveness?
They who?
These people talking about the signs.
What people? Okay. Now you understand.
Go ahead. Sorry I interrupted.
Okay, we cut that one off, didn't we? So anyway, so they talked about banners, and then they talked about they need to have new officers because it's that time of the year for the Pollyanna Trail.
And they have to
Are
deal
you
with those
reading my
signs.
notes?
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to put this in, would you say Chinese? No, I could put it in Spanish, you'd never catch on. But, so anyway, election of officers, and guess who was elected chairman?
Ooh, great.
It wasn't Ed this time, Brakefield.
No?
This
Ooh.
time, and he said he's happy to see him come, is Mike McDonald.
Michael McDonald.
Yep, yeah. So it's good
He'll
that the
deal with
chief
those
did it.
signs, yes.
Yeah. So Mike McDonald is the new chair, and vice chair is none other than Buck Kreiderman.
Oh, we know Buck.
Yeah. How do you
Yeah.
know Buck?
Well, he has to
I
do
know
with
Jack, but you
the cable commission and all that.
Oh,
Sure,
yeah. Those people you
he's a
work
friend of
for.
ours.
We work for. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, kind of work for. Bill Service is, of course, station manager.
Well, yes.
we go through him, and God forbid anything happen to him, then we got to deal with the communications commissioner.
All right, you were saying.
Okay, I was saying that Mark Nowalker was again placed as treasurer, and that's the guy we were talking about earlier.
That they brought in?
Hmm? Yeah, before.
Okay.
that. So they're going to keep him as treasurer. They said, "Hey, you're doing a great job. You're finding out that we have no money."
Seriously?
No, they have money.
Oh, good.
Seriously. And then secretary was none other than Dave Bailey.
Okay.
And Dave Bailey serves on the village council also. Don't know if you're aware of that?
I've heard the name. Yes, go on.
He's pro tem on there. In other words, he would be the next president, when the time is ripe, however you want to say it. So anyway, so he's been active in a lot of different commissions and councils and organizations too. So pretty active guy.
Thank God for all these people who show up for stuff like this. I mean, we can joke about it and carry on, but the fact of the matter is these guys are taking their personal time, just like you do, to show up for these commission meetings and help things along around here.
Is that me? I don't think I show
Sure
up.
it
Do
is.
I show up? Okay. No, well, it helps to be informed as to what's going on.
Right.
So one way to get informed is by getting actively involved. So even if you just come to some of the meetings. Now, I've seen on the council, for example, where maybe there might be 2 or 3 people in the audience, but under a real serious issue, place is packed.
That's right.
We got them with their little noses pressed against the glass on the outside looking in. But you should be interested in what goes on day to day because these commissions and councils, they spend your money. And so you need to know where it's going. You can also catch a lot of information if you go to the Leader newspaper in town here. And let me see, there's some others too. But anyway, you'll get it on Minutes by Minute too. I want to just say one thing about Minutes by Minute though. Everything we say here is absolutely the truth.
That's right. We found it on the internet.
It may not be 100% accurate, but do understand that it's for the entertainment content as well. That we know that politics is rather funny, sometimes hilarious. So that's the reason why we inject a little humor.
Yes, and as much as we joked about the Pollyanna Trail, that is one of the highlights of our area here, and it's a very beautiful place to visit. So, that be said,
Yeah,
Carry
makes a
on.
good place for woodchucks to,
Yep.
and gerbils to, run down the path. It's a good thing. So what's good for them is good for us. Let's talk about the Addison Township Fire Board. Shall we?
yes, please.
Okay, they put out fires.
I hope so.
Actually,
We
the
could
board,
use them right now.
The board not so much, but the chief was there, and he coordinates the fire putter-outers.
So how are they doing?
They're doing pretty good. The chief said that last year in his report that there were 614 calls in 2013, and they had, let me see, 73 calls alone in December of last year. So, what was it, maybe all those Christmas trees?
There must be. Yeah, all the lights.
Yeah, there's more that twinkle than,
So do you know if that's better than last year or not?
well, no. Would you like to know?
Well, yeah, that'd be nice.
You report back next time,
I'll
right?
check it out.
Okay. You sure you haven't been talking to Dave Kinney?
No.
You sound like Dave.
no.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't think he's ever sorry, but anyway, he said that they've had a problem with the generator at station number 1. And it's rather expensive to repair one of those things. They said that it costs about $700 to repair it. But in order to buy a new generator, they have to talk roughly about, I think it's $25,000 or $30,000
Right.
for a whole generator.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you knew that?
Yeah, generators can be expensive, especially the kind that they would need.
Yeah. You know, when they shock your chest, you know, the EMTs, you know, the power they can get. So anyway, so they were concerned, you know, when they work on their budget, that not only do they buy the day-to-day requirements like fire hoses, which they had a grant of $50,000.
Oh, good for them.
Oh, I'm sorry, not 50,000, 5,000. $50,000 hoses, that'd be a lot of hoses.
It sure would.
They could probably put out a fire
What if
from
they use
Addison
those
here.
fold-up kind? Never mind.
Anyway, they have an allocation of funds for that. Ambulance. They're going to need a new ambulance, and guess how much they are? 170,000. beach below.
170, it must be
Yep.
a Mercedes ambulance.
And that's not dressed out to kill.
That's just the
ambulance.
basic model.
That's the basic model where they can pick up whatever's left alongside the road and take them away. You know what? We'll talk about that again in just a moment.
Today, more than ever before, women are on the front lines of America's defense. These brave women struggle and sacrifice to help keep our country secure. They deserve to be recognized for their service as guardians of freedom. Please support the American Legion's efforts to serve the growing number of women veterans. Go to legion.org/honor-veterans to find out how you can help.
Hello, I'm Elgin Nichols,
John Ochins,
and we were just talking about the Addison Township Fire Board.
yes, and their ambulances.
Yeah, $170,000 ambulance. The other thing that we have here is they're looking for ways to save money in terms of energy. And one way to do that is a lot of people forget to turn the lights out. So they have a motion detector unit that now turns off lights. You know,
For the fire
in a room.
department?
Yeah,
Or-
for like the bathroom and different areas in
Ah.
the fire department. It detects if you come into the room, the light turns on, and when you come out of the room, it shuts down.
Wow.
Isn't that neat? You don't have those in
They
your
have,
house?
no, they have all kinds of stuff out there in Addison.
Well, anyway, they're suggesting that because it would be an energy saver, you know, for the fire department.
Right.
Which anytime they can save money, you know, one way to do
so
it
they
is
can afford
cut
the
off the water
ambulance.
for the spray hoses.
And
That would-
yeah, go
might
ahead.
need that though. Okay. They have a 10-year plan also in mind, and again, they've got some vehicles that need to be looked at. Two of their vehicles that they have in inventory are 15 to 20 years old, so they're kind of showing a little, you know, wear and tear. They have a water truck, which is a tanker, that's over 30 years old. It doesn't leak yet, but
God,
it is a tanker.
that's even older than my car.
Right, and guess how much a new tanker cost?
Well, let's see.
You will never guess this one.
300,000?
No.
No.
Bruce Township just purchased one, and they paid $450,000 for it.
My goodness.
Yeah, that'll hold a lot of water.
I get a lot of expensive water.
So anyway, they're saying that Addison Township has never spent that kind of money for a tanker, and probably never will. That they think that this $450,000 tanker has everything from stereo, high fidelity, all types of different things that navigate it. I don't know, GPS, I don't know. But anyway, they think it's got everything on it, $450,000. They said, well, we need to look at one, but we won't be spending $450,000.
They want a more basic model.
Right, more likely. I
But
can
that,
see
you know, that reminds me of when I went to buy I bought a new boat a couple years ago. It's a pontoon boat. But I'd never bought a new I had no idea of the difference between pontoons as they evolved through the years, new ones. And I said
Is
to the guy in the
pontoon a boat?
salesman, yeah, well, I said, hey, I said to the salesman, you know, I just want a real basic, I don't need a radio or anything like that. And he kind of looked me in the eye and gave me a stupid stare and said, well, they all come with radios. Do you think that's the case with,
Well, I do know that if you buy an automobile, they don't all come with spare tire.
well, that's true.
They got those
Very
itty
true.
bitty little tires, you know?
Yeah, maybe they could
Can
get
you
one
call
without
them a
spare
tire?
I don't know, not really.
Yeah, right. It's a temporary thing, whatever it is. Anyway, back to this. I want to talk about
Sorry.
the meetings. Yeah, you did this to me. Anyway, let me see. Operating budget. Yes. They have an operating budget for 2014 established at $87,000, roughly $980. So that's what the fire department deals with.
Okay.
In terms of their budget. Wages are in the neighborhood of somewhere around 158,000 in their budget. And I think that does it for the fire department over there in Addison.
How many fire stations do they have out there? Do you know? Couple?
Yeah, they got a couple of them. They got Station 1 for sure.
But seriously, they don't have, well, they don't have city water out there, so that tanker truck is really very important, right?
Well, they have lakes.
Lakes, true, yeah.
And lately they've been draining the lakes because they've had a few fires out there.
I'll bet they have.
But
sorry.
lakes are a whole different subject in Addison. And we'll talk about the speckled fish someday.
Can't wait.
And the
Okay.
disease they have, but not today. So, next one we're going to talk about is the Oxford School Board. And it was kind of interesting, actually.
Good people, I
Yeah.
like those people. Yeah, I've covered
Yep.
those meetings.
They talked about finance and what opportunities there are with the finances that they have. They had a ceremony where they gave out plaques and so forth to teachers and principals and so forth for the great job they did last year. Whitney Kane is a new teacher that they just hired, and they hired her in January, I think, sometime around the 11th or 17th or something like that. But they're glad to have her on board. They lost one part-time teacher at special.
Special ed?
No, special. What is that? One of these days I'll learn how to write where I can read it. But anyway, a person left, a temporary teacher, and so they're going to be looking for another temp coming up for middle school.
Okay.
Let's see. They got a great program for robotics, and they had Chrysler Corporation donate $5,000
That's neat.
to that program.
That's really neat. Yeah.
And they do it every year, you know. So they're kind of an unsung hero here. Now, it's going to be a different company owned by another.
Yeah, we
Mercedes.
were trying to figure out, are they going to be Italian or English or American? What is Chrysler
Yes.
going to be? Okay.
Nobody knows. Let me ask you,
Yes.
what's going on?
What's
gonna be
going on?
in the future?
Well, we have a Village of Oxford Planning Commission meeting coming up on February 4th at 7 o'clock in the evening. We have a Village of Oxford Economic Development Subcommittee coming up February 5th at 6:30 in the evening. And we have a Village of Leonard Council meeting coming up at 7 p.m. on February 10th.
You betcha.
So that's what we got coming up.
And tomorrow morning, for example, we're starting to work on budgets for the village. So the first one we're going to work with is DPW budgets, get that established, hopefully, at least some direction where we want to go with it. And then there's going to be 2 other sessions and meetings. Now you host another show.
Yes, it's called My Life. It's where we interview area senior citizens and talk about their lives. And it's, you know, it's the kind of thing that developed when a bunch of us got together here at the station, and we're talking about how we always forgot the good questions to ask our mom and dad until it was too late. So anyway, that's what we're attempting to do. We're attempting to go out and talk to these seniors and find out more about them.
Well, I've watched the show, and I can tell you that if you haven't seen it, you need to tune in. You can watch it on PEG Central, which is, go to our website, occtv.org, and click on PEG, and more likely he's out there. If not, You could be on YouTube also.
Hey, do you know this is a Chinese New Year? Happy Chinese New Year. It's the year of the horse. I just wanted to throw that out there.
With that, let's throw it out. This is Elgin Nichols.
John Ochins.
We'll catch you next time on Minutes by Minute.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the village of Leonard.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights.
I've always appreciated the American Legion's
My gratitude to the American
Thank
Legion.
you all to the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization. Thank you.
The American Legion, we serve America and its veterans. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. There is power in our numbers. We're the largest organization of wartime veterans in the nation. We are 2.5 million members strong, men and women from every state in the nation and around the world. No other veterans organization wields this kind of power. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we succeed. The American Legion takes care of our fellow veterans and their families. We maintain close ties with Congress and the leaders in Washington, D.C. They respect us. They listen to us. We sponsor research and press for medical care and benefits for all veterans and active duty service members, whether they are members of the American Legion or not.
President Roosevelt signs G.I. Joe's Bill of Rights.
You've heard of the GI Bill of Rights, one of the most important pieces of social legislation of the 20th century. It was written and passed largely through the efforts of the American Legion. We were instrumental in the formation of what is now the Department of Veterans Affairs to make sure our veterans get the care and benefits they are promised and deserve. The young people of our nation are our future. They benefit from exceptional programs and generous scholarships that only the American Legion offers. We provide athletic programs like American Legion Junior Shooting Sports, Legion Baseball, and educational and civics programs like the Oratorical Scholarship Contest and Boys State and Boys Nation.
As Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black stated, the quality of justice that Americans receive should not depend upon the amount of money they have.
We promote citizenship and an appreciation of government. We have all been directly involved in our nation's defense as wartime veterans. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done.
We're all very grateful to have the American Legion on point.
We take our case all the way to the top in Washington, D.C. to ensure that America is prepared for any threat. We are patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. These pillars represent not just what we do, but who we are. We're here to serve our fellow veterans, their families, and all of America. We are here for them. We are here for you. The American Legion asks you to join us in our mission. If you share our vision and commitment to America, visit our website at legion.org or your nearest American Legion post today.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the village of Leonard.